Hello, everyone. This is Joe Boston with Real Estate for Life, and we are blowing and going with real estate. They've determined that my moniker now is Real Estate Joe, so that's real interesting because every day it seems like we're having different aspects of real estate that we have to navigate. And one of the topics today, that we're going to discuss today, is the property tax bill uh, that is going to be signed uh, hopefully shortly, and how it affects us real estate professionals. And so we thought because that is actually happening now, we would discuss it. And so uh, my friend and sponsor, the Lonergan Law Firm, it's Gaylene Rogers, is going to help me kind of navigate through what all of the details are in regards to the property tax bill and then how it affects us. And so, I'm really, really happy that we did receive some relief because it definitely will impact how we approach our real estate strategies in the future. But one thing I wanted to mention to you is that we do have a real estate investment group. It's the Dallas REIG. And we will be meeting tomorrow, actually, on the 15th. And our topic is it's our money month, which we're going to have an individual that is going to be discussing I-10 loans, individual tax identification number loans, and how that can benefit investors, as well as uh, debt service coverage ratio loans, which are basically loans for people that want to have rentals. And we're going to go through the details of those. And that's going to be at our headquarters, which is at 717 East Border Street in Arlington. So if you're interested in that, please register at dallasreig.com, and we will see you tomorrow. But one of the strategies we always talk about is the BRRRR strategy, right? The buy, rehab, rent, and then refi. Well, what's crucial about all of those is that after you buy, you're responsible for the property tax bill. And one of the things that we don't talk about a lot are those phantom costs. I'd like to call them, are the things that you have to pay that might escalate in time, but they actually impact your bottom line, and we're going to talk about that in the future. But I'd like to welcome Gaylene.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello, and uh, Gaylene is our resident expert and attorney that does all this research on different topics that are affecting real estate investors, because she does represent a lot of clients, and then she obviously is our title company that we use primarily. But it was interesting because Gaylene reached out to me. We've had various topics that we've discussed, but she's like, "Hey, we definitely need to talk about this because it's going to affect one, exit strategies for investors, and then how will it play out over time, right? And how does it kind of work? What are the mechanics?" And so, uh, when does the tax bill relief go into play? Where does it stand, Gaylene?
Okay, well, it's taken the whole regular session, which was 6 months, and two special sessions. But finally, about a week ago, Mr. Patrick and Mr. Phelan met and reached an agreement, and both the House and the Senate passed it as of yesterday, and the bill has been sent to the governor, who is expected to sign it Monday or Tuesday at the latest, I believe. So it's pretty much final. There was some talk from the Democrats of trying to hold it up in order to give the renters some sort of relief, as well as the teachers, because the teachers' pay raise got left out. But in the end, they decided to go exactly with what they had, and so it's going to be signed. But we have to. The way it works is now they have to. put it to a vote to the Texas voters in November because it constitutes a constitutional amendment necessary in order to raise the homestead exemption. But once if the voters pass it, then the taxes for 2023 will be retroactive. So it will come into play this year, even though it won't be voted on until November.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
We need that relief because I think from what I'm hearing, a lot of people now, and I believe I did the calculation, the average tax percentage is about 2.6% across the Dallas Fort Worth metro area.
Mhm.
And so when you take that into consideration, when the average sales price is 300,000, give or take, that's north of, six to $10,000, depending on where you live. So the
Absolutely.
whole adage is if you have, a $400,000 house, you basically are paying $1,000 a month potentially in just property taxes.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
right.
for those of you that are listening, really and truly, do we own our house if it's paid off, but you still owe the property taxes and you still have to
Right.
pay insurance was a percentage point. So if it's 2.6 plus another point, that's about 4% you're paying. So, that's pretty expensive, right? I mean, that's hitting home for a lot of people because um, for us that do rentals, and we'll kind of talk about that, the homestead exemption, we're shielded from some of those taxes, right? The benefit plays into the independent school district, the ISDs, for the most part. But for those that don't, I mean, are not homesteaded,
You don't get
I think there's some tax relief there too, isn't there? Isn't there a proposal?
Yes, they did put in what they call a circuit breaker for the that's effective for the next 2 years, and then they're going to at the next session they're going to reevaluate it. But what they did was they put where property taxes could not increase on a business property, which would include rentals and such as that, under $5 million can increase more than 20% a year. Of course, that's a that can hurt too, a 20% increase, but still, it is something because I know a lot of the appraisals and whatnot have been really skyrocketing, right, Joe?
So let me tell you this. I'm looking at my spreadsheet right now. So let me give you my top five. Last year, year over year, the number one, my increase, the highest increase was 57%.
Wow. Wow.
Then my next one was 52%. Then another one that went 51%, and then 47%, and then 45%. And I'm rounding up. So you can see that those properties that I had, as we go for way back, if you bought them at 60,000, they're just looking at the houses that are around you. And it's something we always say about real estate investors is that we're gentrifying and beautifying and improving neighborhoods. But on the other hand, if you're, Sally Sue and you've been there your whole life since the 40s, you don't necessarily, even though it's nice to have a brand new build next to you, there's some damage that it causes to you financially, potentially, right?
Oh,
Only she has
absolutely.
the over 65, exemption. But if there's no exemption, and let's say they just move into the neighborhood, it's increasing their tax basis.
Hmm.
And so I just can't believe now, for me personally, that's why I like this topic. If rentals, we have to look at actually that exit strategy is it a viable way of getting a subsizable return, because when you add in the fact that you'll have the principal and interest payment plus your property taxes and then your insurance, which is about 4%, we're saying, can you generate a cash flow when there's a ceiling on rental amounts, right? So,
Hmm.
you know, um, I'm going to do a
Mm.
top podcast on the rental rates for Section 8, like the highest uh, zip codes that'll give you the biggest
Mhm.
payment payouts. But even with that, if you're buying a house at 250,000 and above, your highest rental amount's about 2,900. So
Yeah,
it's,
that makes it hard.
it makes it really hard, and that's the problem with, you're having to look at these other exit strategies, because of these taxes. The taxes have gone up so much, and those are just my top five. So I'm paying an extraordinary amount.
Oh, yeah.
Um, what I thought about doing is just painting all my hair white, you know, painting a white beard, and asking for a 75-year-old exemption. Maybe that'll work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
but that's
then
only
like,
eligible if it's your home. That it's
and it's funny because I'm on the West Coast. I'm from the West Coast, and that's why I have my Mariner shirt on.
yeah.
But or there's a lot of issues on the coast there. So I'm not
Mhm.
thinking about adopting some of those principles on the West Coast, and saving myself some money with these houses because it's just getting so expensive,
Right,
to live. I mean,
right.
so what should people do? Should they own or should they rent? And that's kind of going to be a debate,
Mhm.
going
Absolutely.
forward. Um,
Yeah, the funding of Texas public schools is falling right on top of the real estate owners of Texas because we don't have a sales tax. Well, like, I mean, I'm sorry, we don't have an income tax like a
right.
lot of states do, that they fund their school public education through that. So the the property tax is what the legislature's been relying on to fund schools. Now, we had a $33 billion surplus from last year, which means they really overtaxed us last year.
Oh,
Okay.
really? You think?
You think? And Governor Abbott did make one of his campaign promises that he was going to, use half of that to fund public school and lower the property taxes. And he didn't quite make it to a half, but the package is really about 18 billion. 12 billion is going to be paid directly to the school districts to make up for the loss of taxes that they're going to lose because of the $100,000 homestead exemption and the reduction in some of the rate on the school. Um, it's going to be reduce the school property taxes uh, down by 10.7 cents per $100 evaluation, which that could be, a decent that could be a decent reduction in your taxes as well. I think they said that for um, the average taxpayer, it's going to reduce their taxes by about $1,300 a year, and for the old folks like me, over 65, they said about $1,450 a year. But the
That's
reduction,
really good.
yeah, but the reduction of the rate is going to help homestead and non-homestead. Okay. And that's what
Right.
they've been calling compression. What they're trying to do, ultimately, what the House wanted to do is essentially keep lowering the tax rate to where actually, if you took it to the extreme, nobody would owe any taxes. If you keep lowering the tax rate enough. Of course, we're a long way from there. We're a long,
Extremely a long way.
yeah,
Right.
but it's a start. It's a start. It's been something that has needed to be done for a long time.
Well, it's such a surplus, like you mentioned. I mean, and that money needs to be put to work, but it's really our money, right?
That's
And I
right.
think I read that it's not their money. I mean, they're
That's
making
right.
decisions upon that, and it's our money, which is good as being dispersed back. But like you said, I think the largest percentage of what we pay in property taxes is the ISD, Independent School District. I
Correct.
think it's anywhere from what 40% roughly of what you
Mhm.
pay, because then there's fire, police, there's all those things that are in there. But I think how it works, and correct me if I'm wrong, right now you get a $40,000 based on your property valuation. So you get a $40,000 valuation break, and then they use that percentage based on, I mean, just for your ISD though,
Right.
because it's the highest amount break. And now they're taking that 40,000 and increasing it to 100,000.
Right. Which will help a
Correct.
lot of homeowners.
And that's on the only on the ISD portion.
Right.
Right. And that's
It's
what's
usually,
crucial. That's
yeah, the
and
ISD portion, at least on mine, is at least 4 times, if not more, than the taxes from the city and the county. I mean, it's at least 4 or
correct.
5 times more.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the running joke, like I told you. I mean, I'm a, Ellerson whale because I'm driving by that elementary school and I'm like, man, I'm paying taxes for that. Every school I go by. Oh, I'm paying taxes for that. Man, that is really expensive. I know. I mean, unfortunate for the teachers, like you mentioned. So hopefully there'll be something for them in the
Right.
future, because
Yeah,
that's a job that we really need to reward. And I mean, I think that they need to pay some attention to that.
that's
So
right. Yeah. Yeah, there is one other little, I had once the bill is actually signed and it comes out, I can dig into it a little bit more, but there is one other little tidbit, because I know you just recently had a encounter with the local appraisal board.
correct.
And so now they're trying to, essentially get the ordinary people, the voters, input into the appraisal boards. So they may be becoming voter, um, positions, you know, that you run on in the elections. Now
Wait,
that
so
would
they would be permanent positions, or you'd have a
Well, I
term?
don't know. I mean, all I know is they keep saying throwing that in, but until I see the actual final bill, I can't tell you exactly what it is.
Now
But
that would be good. But just kind of like jurors, and this is just my 2 cents. I think you need professional jurors, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I think every citizen has their right, but there should be some education, and then there should be something, right? Because I and again, I'm probably biased because the properties that I have, I go in and I actually present my case on what the valuation is. But in my opinion, and this is just from what I see, is they're so heavily weighted on the city representative or county representative's facts without taking a lot of your information.
that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm sure if I was sitting on the other side, my job's to win to get the value high. But when they're an impartial party, and I don't know how that is, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily know how far the pendulum can swing. When we're talking about a property tax, when you're protesting, because I'm going through, all of us are heavily involved in that right now. I
Right.
mean, it's me, I'll spend 2 or 3 days, full days, just going through that with them. Which everybody out there, you need to protest your taxes because it helps everybody in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, you need to do that, or hire a company that does it. And so, one of the things that I'm leery of is it seems across the board, it doesn't matter what panel I get, it's almost like there's only so much they'll discount it.
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
and here's one thing too. Last year I purchased a property, and correct me if I'm wrong, for whatever you buy that property for that year should set value, because
It
that's
should.
right.
Yep. It should. Yes.
There's a settlement statement that says this is what
Mhm.
it was sold for. This is the value that it was agreed upon by the seller.
Right.
Not a third party saying, "Oh, that's what it is." But
Right.
if I want to sell my property for X, that should set value for that year. Well, do you know, last year I had purchased a property, and I believe it's for 180,000. I was in the city of Dallas. I'm just gonna say that. And they threw out the settlement statement. They said that,
Really?
sir, yes, they did. they said, sir, that's fine, but right now, I mean, this is what we're showing that the value in that particular area is near Bishop Hearts. But regardless, that's why it'll be interesting to see how that works, because I'm curious for anyone else that's out there that protests their taxes, how they feel about it, because they're slight wins. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's almost like when you go to a department store and it's marked up 200%, but they say, they're giving you 50% off.
Right.
I mean,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's not 5,000 or 10,000. No, I mean, that's not what I'm here for.
That's
But
right.
you marked it up 57%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And then
right.
you're going to try to, well, sir, we can give you 5,000,
Yeah.
we'll give you 6,000. What does that mean?
What does that do
You know
for?
what I
Yeah.
mean?
What does that do?
Nothing, right?
Right.
And then, so, yeah, and I just wonder, so it'd be interesting to see the training to be
Yeah.
on the board. And I think that's a good thing. When you're mentioning voters, it'd be interesting to see how that works, because I think there needs to be true impartiality. I think there needs to be the pendulum can go both ways, right? You can't have a 57% raise unless you should theoretically have a 50% 7% loss.
Yeah. Right.
You shouldn't, right? So there should be that relevant range, that bell curve that says, okay, if I increase it X amount, I should be able to decrease it. I haven't seen,
Yeah.
and I haven't talked to anyone, not just in my sphere of influence, that has been lowered.
That's right. No, me
So
neither.
how
Me
is that
too.
even remotely fair? When you're protesting, what are you really protesting? Because if you had a flood, let's say that it's inhabitable,
Yeah.
I don't,
Uninhabitable.
would they
Right.
reduce it? I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't personally protested mine in a few years. I pay somebody to do it for me now, but the first time I did, I went and I had an appraiser come and go all through my house, noting everything that needed fixing and whatever. And that did get me at that point, of course, that was a while ago. At that point, that did get me a fairly decent reduction. But um, I,
So
the
now, was it a
pendulum is
reduction
all the
on your?
way over here now. Yeah. Hmm?
But was it a reduction on your increase, or was it a true reduction?
Oh, uh, I can't
See, there's
remember
a
now.
difference,
Yeah, there's a difference. You're right. There's a difference. Well,
because
yeah,
they're giving you a reduction on their increase.
yeah.
Give me a reduction.
Reflecting
If I
on
have a
where
flood,
to
and
start
this is
from,
me,
right?
and
Yeah,
this is me going after you as a prosecutor, tort
yeah.
attorney. If I have a flood and my house is not worth what it was prior to the flood, right? And I
On
prove to you and I
50%. Yeah,
show you what the repairs are, and it's 100,000, but you valued my property at 150. You marked it up 50%.
yeah.
Don't tell me, oh, you're going to make it 130. You're going to give me a discount on the
On
increase.
the increase, right.
Well,
Yep.
no, it's worth 80,000 now. And so that's
Yeah,
no.
that's hard
I
to
mean,
get.
that's worth 80. But
Yep,
in the panel, see, you don't really get, you just get to present your case, and then um they're representing the city. They get to present their case, and then they ask you a few questions, but then they just deliberate.
right,
And it's not really, and I know they don't have a ton of time, but I wish there was a way that you could know, okay, they're not just taking the increase and then
right.
going, okay,
Yeah, that's true.
because see what I mean?
Yep.
It's not really, yeah, because it's, and like I said, it's a formula, because I've had a house, and it's near the Cowboy Stadium, 801 Truman, and then I have another one that's 815 Webb, next street over, right? The one that's closest to the Cowboy Stadium, they didn't go up at all. That's
Hmm.
a street over.
Yeah.
That one, the one that's one street over, went up 32%.
Woo. Wow.
They're
Wow.
not a block and a half. It's a block and a, well, 2 blocks away. Not even 2 blocks. It's the next street over and just on the other side of this of the block.
Wow.
So literally, it almost backs up to the other house, and they're the same size,
But one,
same
yeah,
age.
that's
And
crazy.
I lost. And I lost that argument. And you know what they told me? Well, you should feel lucky that they didn't
Well, we
increase
haven't
your.
raised the other one, right? Exactly.
And I didn't have a response to that because I was so upset. I'm just like, why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? I
Yeah.
mean, what
Well,
kind of response is that?
yeah. Well,
No,
I
my
guess
value should have, yeah.
I
And
know
then how,
they're under a lot of pressure to to make sure that the schools got funded. Okay, I mean that's really, that's what the real estate is supposed to be there for. The taxes is to fund the schools. So hopefully the state kicking in this 12 billion and also reducing the tax rate will take some of that pressure off of the appraisal district to keep generating more and more taxes, okay? More and more
right,
value, which generates more and more taxes. Now, the one group that kind of is unhappy about this is the businesses, the big businesses, because now the tax burden has, with this reduction on residential, that shifted the tax burden about 3%. So the residential owners have gotten about a 3% reduction, which means that the business owners are have gone up. What their share is gone up about 3%. Okay, so
yeah, that's
they're not real happy about that. But I don't know what could ever be done about that. I mean, like I said, the House's proposal, and they were so sure about their proposal at the first session. They met for about an hour and passed their bill and went home for the rest of the session. But they believe that the concept of compression, where you just keep lowering the tax rates, is the way to go for the future, because just giving an exemption is not going to help the increases that happen over the future. But
right. Yeah, that makes sense. So,
yeah,
what do you think is going to happen with the investors? So, do you think this benefits investors? What do you think?
well, I think it does. Maybe not as much as they would hope, but at least, like you said, I mean, at least a cap of 20%. That seems like a lot, but what you just have shown us is,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
not. No.
it's not right.
Right. Because if you bought right, let's say you bought it or inherited a property, as you're aware of, I mean, that it can go up year over year with no, like you said, it's really no limit. I mean, it's just, it
That's
goes
right.
up 50, 60%. And what's your
Right.
defense? If it's not homes, yeah, I mean, you don't really have one because they're taking, just like with a comparative analysis, the houses that sold right around you with no regard to really, the only thing they can't see is really the inside. So you really have no defense, And the sad thing is, for investors, let me tell you this: it's a double edged sword. So how do we advertise? Typically, right now in the world we're in right now, how do we advertise?
Well, well,
Uh, Okay,
on the
on
internet,
the internet, right? But
right?
who also has access to the internet? The city,
Well,
right?
yeah, the city does,
The appraiser. Okay,
absolutely, right,
the appraisal district.
right.
So if you're rehabbing a property
Oh, they're going to come check you out. Yes,
in January, it looked like mud.
right,
In March, it looks like the Taj Mahal.
right.
But
And
you're
so,
fighting for it to look like mud. But because you advertised it,
oh,
and you can't pull it, like they say, once it goes on there,
right. That's
you
right.
lose you lose all responsibility. You don't own it anymore. once you put anything on the obviously on the internet, you don't own it.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so because you don't own it, really, right? It's public knowledge now.
Mhm.
So before the internet, that's why I say the internet there's a
Right.
lot of things that really, really hurt kind of us real estate professionals. Like the ability to do valuations, right? Now pretty much people can get their value. But also that as well. So when you're renovating, the whole world can see it because you're
Right.
typically
Putting it
hosting
on the
that.
internet. Right. Mhm.
And guess what? That Taj Mahal shows up when you're protesting your taxes. And that's
Right.
not what you want to see. When you're showing your, you know, fallen in roof but they're like, oh, that's a nice looking roof. We really approve of the colors.
Yeah.
Property brother, look, did the property brothers help you with that? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I get your point on that. Well, I mean, I guess the other good thing, I guess, for investors is it's gonna be easier for the people that they wanna sell to, the owner occupied people that they wanna sell to.
right.
You've got their taxes are gonna come down a little bit, which makes your house a little bit more marketable, you know, that
Like for the Airbnbers, the short term rental people, that's no good, right? Because then you really have to market it. So,
right.
and you know what? That was our topic, before is
Mhm.
how the short term rental industry's under attack right now, you know,
Yeah,
for the most part. But how do they advertise?
on the
They have
internet.
the short term rental sites, but it's guess what? In order for them to get them filled, it has to look
Look beautiful.
beautiful.
Salacious, right.
And how do you defend that? You're like,
Uh,
well,
I really
that's
didn't
how it
mean
looks.
that.
Yeah, yeah. We're taking all the furniture out as we speak. There's a
Well,
cigarette burn in that couch.
right.
You
Well,
know,
what I will say is that the everybody at some point hopefully is gonna turn 65 and life will turn more in your favor at that point because
right?
your school property taxes at that point are frozen forever as long as you have the over 65 exemption, okay? So, my husband my school taxes were frozen as of about 15 years ago.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
right. And then the other thing you can do as a over 65 is essentially choose not to pay your taxes. So you just go down to the appraisal district and file an affidavit that says I choose not to pay my taxes. And the appraisal, the city and the county will make you a 8% loan every year and not foreclose on you for
Say
taxes.
what? That is a nugget for tonight. I can't
Yeah,
believe you gave that. So wait a second. That's just on your homestead, though, huh?
it's just on your homestead. And if you have I mean, you pretty much have to own it free and clear because your lender is never going to allow that, right? If
Right.
you have a lender, but if you own it free and clear, you can go down and like I said, say I choose not to pay my taxes anymore. And the public policy is that they don't want people, elderly people losing their homes because of property taxes. So they just make you a
Wow.
loan. But when you come to sell it or you pass away, that's when the bill comes due.
Yeah. Well,
And a lot of
six and one had half dozen of the other.
well, I know
That's
except
your
that
Hawaii vacations.
except that the mom or dad they didn't have to pay them, but the kids who thought they were going to make a big
Oh, they're
killing,
spoiled brats anyway. Right.
yeah. But that's
That,
one thing
that
you see a
Harvard,
lot of
that
people,
Ivy League education,
right?
That Wake Forest education, that should that should pay for mom and
Right.
dad, right?
That's right. That's what I said to my daughter. You don't need my house. I've already paid you what you need. So if I choose not to pay my taxes in the future, live with it.
Then deal with it, right? Welcome to adulthood.
That's right.
That's hilarious. That's a great nugget. I didn't know that. So you
Most
can
people
do
don't
that
do it.
so you
Yeah,
can do that every year.
you just file it one time, and from that point on, you don't have to pay your taxes
So wow. So
until
let's say
you
you
die.
did make it. So let's say you did make it to 100.
Oh my god,
That's
that would be
nice.
quite a tax bill
That's
that would come due.
ridiculous. Hey man. Sorry about that. That's what you leave in your will. Your will would say, sorry about that.
That's right. That's right.
You know? Well, hey.
I've had
So
to
then,
I've had to explain it to a room full of adult children before who thought they were gonna get, make enough money at least to get some big flat screen TVs or whatever, and I have had to go in there explain to them, "Hey, you're lucky you don't have to come out of pocket to sell this."
I'm going to give you guys a head start before they get here. You got about 30 minutes. None of this is yours. That's wow. So who benefited the most from this then? Who lost and who benefited from
On this
this
new law?
new?
Well, like I
Yeah.
said, the the teachers, number 1, lost because they were supposed to be included in this bill. Okay, that was a promise that everybody made, the legislature and the governor made, and they didn't live up to it. They say they're going to do it later, and they didn't fund any more new money for schools. So what they're doing is they're just replacing what the schools were funded amount last year. All right, so they didn't allocate any additional funding for schools. All right.
Yeah, and I think I read that we're the lowest, I guess, dollar per student. We're
Right.
one of the lowest states so we're
Right.
really underfunded.
Yeah,
But
we've
again,
been
it shouldn't just
underfunded,
come
yeah.
from real estate. They're going to have to look at doing some kind of some way that everybody actually pays in instead of
Well,
just that property owner.
you know what that way is, and they're never gonna do it. State
Uh,
income tax.
yeah, not here. They
They're
won't.
never gonna do it. So, the sales tax, they make a lot of money off of sales tax, but, the sales tax is not really fair because that affects the poorest Texans the most, okay? Generally speaking, you know, it affects more of
This
their
is true.
percentage income than it does the wealthier people. Okay, but
But
they could
but
raise the
everybody's
sales tax.
paying into the system though, right?
Right,
So
right.
so you can't have a system where only a certain percentage is paying in or
Well, for sales tax, everybody's paying in.
no, but I'm just saying for property tax though.
Right, right, and
But
with the
eventually though, well, I guess this the way you look at it is the apartment owner is paying property taxes or
yes,
the business owner. So, but but the thing is, though, is there's resources that are being consumed that are just from when you're talking about single family. Um, it's really tough because it keeps going up, and there's no protection when you say poorest. Define that because and this is a whole different topic.
yeah,
But people who are leveraged, it doesn't mean that they're wealthy if you're leveraged,
that's
right?
true. Yeah, that's definitely true.
So if you're liquid, yes, but a lot of people are not.
Right.
They're leveraged. So that's a whole different discussion. But I mean, that really puts pressure on these property owners. And
Mhm,
I'm willing to bet, and as investors, we benefit from markets like that, right?
mhm.
When people cannot afford to stay. And so, I think we're going to see some of that because unfortunately, it was kind of a tsunami. Last year, I mean, property values went up, then COVID, right? But then when it kind of started to settle, property values went down. So if you bought at the top of the market a year and a half ago, you're underwater right now,
That's right. That is
right?
right.
So you're underwater right now. Even though interest rates are higher, you're still underwater. So you really can't sell. But if your property tax thing goes up, and you're underwater, and maybe you're a mid-level manager, that's where most companies cut first. So
Yes. Yep.
that's going to be real interesting in the next couple of years to find out where's this going and who's going to be impacted. But for us, if you and I always say this, we do two things, right? Money and management. We're good at money and we're great at management. And so if you have the money, that's where you're going to see people really go in and acquire these. So again, you have the select few again in ownership positions,
Right.
and the rest, kind of
Right.
are in it. So I mean, yeah, it's going to be real interesting over the next couple years to find out what's happened, especially with interest rates not going down. They might go up still, they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
so that's really putting pressure
on the property owner.
buyers, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, whenever we get the final law, I'll take a look at it and I'll let you know exactly some of these things that are kind of fuzzy right now of what it shook out to be.
right. But I guess the bottom line, the takeaway is um the governor should sign this before November.
Yes.
There was $12.6 billion that are allocated towards this relief,
Yes.
um, for the ISDs, which then that is the largest portion of our tax basis that we pay. Which then it migrates from $40,000 in tax benefit to $100,000, which that offsets the value of your property, right?
Yes.
So it reduces the value for that particular for the ISD, which in effect will then lower your tax bill. And you said what about how much? 20,
About $1,300, they said, for the
1300,
average.
correct?
That's for the average. Now, people that have yeah, I'd have to run the numbers, but there's gonna be a lot of taxpayers that may end up not having to pay any tax based upon with that 100,000 valuation reduction, that
Right.
so,
So that's good.
yeah.
Okay. Well, again, thanks, Gaylene. That was great. I mean, we're going to continue. We're going to talk about this again. And then also want to put a plug in for you, the Lonergan Law Firm, right?
Thank you.
Title company. You help people with a myriad of different real estate um,
Yep.
issues and advice.
Yep.
And so definitely want people to check you out and reach out to you.
Yeah, please.
Um,
I've been at it, I hate to admit, for about 40 years now, and the last 20 of my own firm, I've been working just kind of organically developed that I primarily work with real estate investors or people who work with real estate investors. So um, I that's what I enjoy doing.
yeah, and you're good at it. You
Well,
get us out of a lot of situations. I can say that.
it's giving
We
me
love
some
it.
of this gray hair though, right
Oh
here.
no. Hey, take some of those tax dollar savings and get that taken care of. You got that exemption. You shouldn't have to worry about things like we have to worry about. And then for us, I mean, I'm the leader and organizer of the Dallas Real Estate Investment Group, and we do have a meeting tomorrow. It's our money month. And so, for those of you that want to learn about, like I said, I-10s, which I know you're familiar with, Galen,
Uh-huh.
but that's going to be a big push as well. Individual tax identification numbers. This company provides loans to individuals that have I-10s as well as other DSA CR loans, which are rental loans. So if you're interested, please go there and join us. But we want you to tune in to us again at Real Estate for Life. We're going to have very interesting and take deep dives into topics like this to give you some insight on what our opinions are and how we're interpreting what's going on in the real estate environment. And so we definitely want you to continue to watch us. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We provided our contact information um, to you. So again, we can't wait to see you in the future, and we will have a lot of good and interesting topics. So until next time, we will see you later.
Bye bye.